Hare Krishna. Today, we're going to be talking about stories, empowering stories, disempowering stories, how things we tell ourselves can empower us. If we look through the eye of Shastra, if we look through Krishna's vision, how Krishna explains things, we become empowered. But then we have this tendency to look through our own vision, our own filters, we say, and then that can be disempowering if we're not seeing it from the vision of Krishna or Shastra or from the vision of our spiritual master, through the eyes of Shastra, through the filters of Shastra. Sometimes we see through the filters of passion. Sometimes we see through the filters of ignorance. And then the things we see end up depressing us because we're seeing them materially. And we're going to talk more about this. It's a very interesting topic. And it's a perfect segue from last week, because last week we were talking about beliefs and aligning beliefs with our goals. And so this week we just segue into this idea of stories that we tell ourselves, or stories we're made to believe, or just how we see the world, which could be antagonistic to what we want to achieve. So the stories create beliefs, the stories create emotions, and a lot of times you probably have experience that you're seeing something in one way and it's harming you in some way, or it's discouraging you. You're losing inspiration, or perhaps just becoming unhappy or depressed, discouraged. Then you talk to someone and they tell you, no, it's not actually like that. And they give you another way to look at it, and then all of a sudden this big problem goes away just because of having another vision. A lot of times in counseling, what you're doing is helping people reframe stories, and they have stories which are causing the problem. That's why they need the counseling, because they're seeing things in a certain way. That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I must take my Gandharva pills. And once I take my Gandharva pills, I can sing like a Gandharva. And I explained in the last class, this is not scientifically proven, that taking these pills that came from Taiwan can make you sing like a Gandharva. Because I've never heard a Gandharva sing, so I can't. I don't know how a Gandharva sings, so I couldn't verify this statistically. But we're still going to call them Gandharva pills because they're good for your throat. So, you know the song I wrote about Prabhupada? How many of you know that song? If I sang 1,000 songs, maybe I could tell you. If I wrote 1,000 poems, maybe I could spell it out, how much you mean to me. How many of you know that song? It's a nice song. I thought I was going to get an Emmy, what do you call that? I thought I was going to get a Grammy for that song, but somehow or other it went under the radar and nobody noticed it. If I wrote 1,000 poems, maybe I could tell you. If I sang 1,000 songs, maybe I could spell it out, how much you mean to me, how much you mean to me. You know that song? I don't know the other words for this. I thought it'd be a good song. I just started playing it the other day, but I don't know the rest of the words. I forgot. If I met 1,000 saints, maybe I could find someone. If I searched every holy place, maybe I could meet that one. Maybe I could meet that one. Maybe I could meet that one. something like that, yeah. I have to, I wrote the song, I gave it to someone else, they produced it, and I never played it. Isn't it strange? I've never played it to people. I don't remember the words. I don't remember how to play it. I just started fooling around the other day. If the sun turned cold, if the moon turned hot. What's the next line? If the moon turned hot, the sun turned cold. I don't even know my own songs. That's like, that should be illegal. If you write a song and you don't know it, it should be illegal. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pachayane Navisesa Sandhivadi Paschati. Sing this song. It's amazing. Yeah. I gotta practice. Get the words out. Practice it. If I do it live, I think people will appreciate it more. I have to practice, then we can do a concert. A Zoom concert. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. This was on my album called, what was it called? There's a CD, Stay High Forever. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Govinda, Govinda. Hare Krishna. Well, my Gandharva pills weren't working. Still. The voice is not there yet. Hare Krishna. Govinda. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale. Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve. Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvisesa Sanyavari Paschatya Satani. Now, I have to tell you something, which some of you may know, but it's quite amazing. If you've taken the forgiveness workshop, you know we did a few story changes in the workshop. First thing we did was write down our story. You wouldn't come to a forgiveness workshop unless you had a story that was causing you to be resentful. And the actual cure for resentment is to change your story to a story that causes you to be forgiving. It's that simple. That's actually what happens. You could analyze the whole thing, take it apart, 30 steps, 100 pages of text. But in the end, what actually happened was a story changed. And so the whole workshop is just a change in story. And if you look at problems, you'll see that the solutions are story changes. Even if the story is, there's nothing we can do about it, it's just the way it is. And then you think about it and say, okay, I just have to let go. So that's the story. It always was the story, just I didn't see it that way, or I didn't admit that was a story. Once I see it that way, admit that it's that way, I accept I can't change it, I decide to let it go. All of a sudden, it's not a problem anymore. Story changing. Okay, I have a story about story changing. Kamal. I'm going to read this. We should read this story. I hope Kamal doesn't mind. It's a beautiful story. Hold on. It's Kamal's Vyasa Puja offering. And I don't know if we put the Vyasa Puja book up because we're still getting offerings. Like yesterday, we got another one. So if you haven't made an offering and you want to, we will put it in the digital version. And I haven't even got the print version anyway. So, I want to read this. It's totally relevant to the situation. It's Kamal's story about his story. Kamal, you're doing a great service. And this is printed in the book, so I'm sure you know everyone's going to read it. So, should we have some music for this? It's time for music. Hold on. We have to add music to this. Otherwise, it may lose its impact. Okay, and I have to find the music. You give me like 20 seconds. You can chant Hare Krishna for 20 seconds. Maybe less than 20 seconds. Okay. See if we like this song. Yeah. Hold on. Okay, you can hear that, right? This is dramatic reading of Kamal's story. For the longest time, and for the majority of my adult life, I saw myself as a victim. After facing many difficulties growing up, including prejudice, abuse, and neglect, I had become a resentful man. As such, when life would not work out the way I would want it, as so often it does, I would fall into this default of blaming everyone and anything but myself, bathing in self-pity. After coming to Krishna consciousness, I began to question this mindset, but old habits die hard. After hearing from you in 2015, I began reading all the articles of yours I could, and went through everything on your website. Through some mercy, while living in the temple in 2017, I was given the opportunity to serve you. Even more mercy flowed as I was given the opportunity to speak with you. You gave me your precious time. But being completely honest, I did not make the most of the opportunity. Old habits die hard. There was so much I could have asked you, so many meaningful questions I could have posed that would have helped me improve. But instead, I fell into old ways and chose to foolishly waste both my time and yours, complaining about aspects of my life and how badly I had been treated by others. But at that very moment, something very miraculous happened. When talking to others, they would often cut in and offer advice and solutions, making me feel like my issues were insignificant and easily surmountable. However, you listened intently to my negative words, and despite my ignorance, continued to listen. 3 words you spoke on that day will stay with me for the rest of this life. Quote, change your story. It was like a light bulb moment for me, and something that just had to change within me. Since then, slowly but surely, I began to see all my struggles as blessings and events that I could learn and grow from. I still have such a long way to go and much to learn. Often I feel like pure bhakti and real Krishna consciousness is something unfathomable, distant, and unrealistic for someone such as myself. But your teachings and mercy have been like a lifeline, pulling me towards Krishna and pulling my mind out of ignorance. Your explanations have brought new meaning and understanding of the words His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada to me, deepening my connection. On this, anyway, it sounds kind of like, I feel awkward reading that, but I think it makes the point. As a counselor, you will hear more readings with background music like this. As a counselor, when people come to me and they tell me what's going on, one of the things I think is my job now is to help them change their story. So this is really the essence of what we're going to talk about today. That anything that's bothering you, anything that's disturbing you, anything that is negative, in general, we can say there's some kind of negative story that's the soil, that's to fertilize the soil, that's nourishing that ill feeling. or nourishing whatever it is that you wish would go away. So let's use the forgiveness workshop as an example. So when people come, most people who come to the forgiveness workshop are coming because they have an issue to work on. Some people are coming just because they're interested in the topic and they want to learn more about it, or they're coming as counselors who could help. But I would say the majority of people come with issues. And even the ones that don't come with specific issues, I ask them to dig up an issue or think of an issue to work on. So everybody's working on an issue, right? So the first thing we do is we have everyone write the story. This is the story they brought in. This is the story which I call the story of your resentment. This is the reason you have resentment, because you have this story. It's not actually the story, it's your interpretation of the event, but that becomes your story. So your interpretation of the event becomes your story of resentment. You've interpreted the story in a way that it's producing resentment. Now, as you well know, when something happens, people have different interpretations. Someone will have an interpretation that what happened is not good. Someone will have a neutral. Someone may have a positive. No, it's good because we're learning something, or it's waking us up, or it's going to motivate us to do better. It could be a disaster, but that disaster wakes you up and, oh, I was doing things wrong, like maybe a health crisis or a business crisis. And you realize, I have to change the way I take care of myself. I have to change the way I run my business. Or a crisis in marriage, I have to change the way I deal with my spouse. So you could see it that way. But when people come to the forgiveness workshop, they're not seeing it that way. That's why they have the resentment issue. So the first thing we do is get the story of resentment. And then we begin changing the story through various processes. One of the ways we change the story is I ask the participants to fully embrace how they're feeling, like allow themselves to feel how bad it is. That adds information to the story. Like, I'm holding on to this resentment, but usually we're not aware of how we kind of suppress it or repress it. So we're not aware of what it feels, or how bad it feels, or how damaging it is. So I ask people to open up. It sheds light on the story. The story's starting to change. I didn't realize it feels this horrible. I didn't realize how heavy a burden I'm carrying. I didn't realize how much I'm hurting myself. Story's changing. I'm hurting myself. Then we start to realize I'm holding on to this story. I could let it go. Okay, so now the story's changing. When you come in, most people feel like this is the absolute truth. This is how it is, and I can't change it. Or I can't even let it go. I like to let it go. I don't know how. I can't. So we start manipulating. Oh, so now there's some new information. This is a bigger burden on me than I realize. Story's changing. Then we do another exercise. That's called cost-benefit. So we ask, and those of you who've been to the workshop, it's just a reminder, and you'll remember. You may have forgotten, but you'll remember when I'm describing. We say, so what are the benefits that you get from holding on to resentment? And of course, there's no real benefit, but these are the benefits these are the reasons we hold on to it, so-called benefits. I can be a martyr. I have an excuse for not being responsible. I have an excuse for failing. So-called benefits, right? We make a list of about 20, 30 so-called benefits. It gives me power. I got leverage over the person. I could blackmail the person, get back at the person, and so forth. And then we do the cost. Okay, what's it costing you? Someone will say, it's costing me my spiritual life. My japa gets affected by the negative feelings. I lose energy. It's costing me health, emotional stability, so on and so forth. So then we come up with a list of costs. And then we conclude that whatever benefits we're getting are of no value. And aside from that, to make matters worse, we're paying for it. And we're not even, getting a valuable product. We're paying dearly for a benefit that's actually sabotaging us. Story's changing. Oh, we're starting to see it differently. then we do, so much discussion. We talk about things like, if you were in the same situation, could you have done the same thing? Yeah. If you were in the same situation, would you want to be forgiven? Yes. Okay. So we're starting to talk about compassion now. Just because someone did something wrong, is that a reason for us, especially as devotees, to hate? No, we shouldn't hate anybody. Okay, we can hate what they did. We shouldn't hate them. And we should try to understand why they did it. Maybe they're weak human beings and their intention was not to hurt us. But they did hurt us, but it was not their intention. Maybe they've been conditioned to such an extent that they were, in a sense, somewhat helpless, or so highly conditioned they didn't know how to deal with this in another way. So then we talk about that, and then we do an exercise where we actually play that person, and we try to explain why we did it from their perspective. And sometimes it's difficult because we don't know. So we have to try to think, say, go back, what was their life like? What do you know about them? What do you know about their struggles? And all of a sudden we get another angle of vision. Their angle of vision is a whole different story. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I was just trying to protect myself, or I was just trying to be happy, or I didn't know that I was hurting you. I thought it was helping you. Or I had been hurt this way, and therefore my conditioning is such that I've lost control of myself in this area, like that. So, and then we discussed a lot of quotes about compassion, how compassion is the great neutralizer of hatred, of revenge, of resentment. That when you try to understand the suffering of another and try to empathize with their suffering, it neutralizes your hate, because empathy and compassion are the opposite of hatred and revenge. So when they're there, it just neutralizes it. You can't really have both at the same time. One has to win out. And so we try to place compassion in there. And then we go probably to the most amazing exercise. If someone hasn't forgiven at this point, usually the next exercise pushes them. Usually by now they're sitting on the fence. A lot of people have, it was wrong what they did. If I forgive them, it wouldn't be right. It would be an injustice. And then we have to talk about, no, forgiveness is not about, it's not about justice. It's about being a devotee, what a devotee should be. It's about acting properly. It's not about who's going to get punished. It's about what are the proper actions. Now, in some cases, one would punish, but it wouldn't punish out of revenge. It would punish for the benefit of that person, or for the benefit of the others that person could harm. So we talk about that, about the need to punish, and we start looking in our own hearts and say, why do I need to punish him? Is it to protect people, or is it to get back at him? So we start to look more and more about how compassion is so important for devotees, for human society, for our own Krishna consciousness. And we start to understand that if I hold on to resentment, I also have to hold on to a lot of other negative emotions to support it, such as hatred and revenge and envy, perhaps envy and other negative emotions. So it's like in a package. And so when we realize, we start to think, okay, that is not good. It's not the way I should act, even though what the person did was wrong. So then we go there. But then I think the icebreaker at this point is we play Krishna's part. Then we say, if you were Krishna, speaking to yourself, what would you say? And so your partner plays you, and you play Krishna. So basically you're speaking to yourself. And you're trying to speak from Krishna's point of view, Krishna's vision, like, why did this happen? Which basically means, what am I supposed to learn from this? So we talk about karma. We talk about what we can learn from karma, why situations arise. Did we attract the situations? Is it a past karmic event? Is there something we're meant to learn? Is there a mission in life we're meant to engage in that this event could be the impetus for? So like that. And so when you take Krishna's position and you see it from his point of view, he's not seeing it at all like we're seeing it. And that becomes like a huge wake-up, a huge epiphany for all of us to see, okay, how does Krishna? And so Krishna's speaking, and you have to explain why you as Krishna orchestrated the event. It's like amazing. If you ever have a problem, play Krishna and try to channel what he would say about this situation. You know, you shouldn't be upset about this because you also do the same thing, and you're a devotee, and etc., etc. So, like that. So, yeah. So, and then we ask the devotees to appreciate and bless. So now you have to figure out, how can I appreciate this person? You try to appreciate them as your teacher or a person who was struggling or some. So these are all adding new dimensions to the story. So if the workshop goes as planned, then at the end of the workshop, they have a new story. And the new story supports forgiveness. And if they live that story, if they imbibe that story, believe that story, see that new story in their life and live it, guess what happens? It's no longer a problem because the story has changed. So now when they see that person, it's totally different. Can you hold on a second? I want to open the windows because I don't want to faint right in front of you, and it's kind of hot in here. I close the windows and put the AC on, but if I put the AC on, you won't be able to hear me. So hold on, everyone. Oh, yes, air. Krishna, so amazing. You produce air. Isn't air wonderful? Don't you like air? It's like so helpful. Isn't it? Air and water. Amazing. This is how I get my exercise. These windows are so hard to open. I think especially in the summer they expand. And I have to lift them like this. Oh, God. That's why I'm so muscular. It's from lifting these windows. Okay, I think I can breathe now. Okay, so I'm going to go back and back. There are some messages. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Okay, Krishna, Krishna, Hare. So, I had to go back to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I am wondering, Krishna Karshini, changing the story without changing negative thinking in general will be enough. Someone may change one negative story in their life, but if they will not change on a deeper level, he or she may then tend to again create another negative story. Of course, that's true, but I can share my experience. I'm not an expert, but I can share my experience in this area that if you learn to change stories once, then you understand the process and you understand your reactions to stories. And then you start to realize that anytime there's negativity, or you're not achieving what you want, or whatever problem you're facing, it's because of the way you're looking at it. And so you understand that principle. And then you start to change your story, because you understand that. It's the story. So it may be that a person's negative, but it may be that they understand now. Their conditioning is to produce negative stories, and they could force themselves to produce positive stories. I have to see it differently. Let me try to see it, something's bad, and then you're getting very negative, and then you think, let me try to see it differently. For us as devotees, it would be, let me try to see it according to Shastra. That's why we have this word Shastra Chakshu. You could call Shastra Chakshu, you could call it a filter, a Shastric filter. I'm filtering my vision through I'm taking my vision, putting it through the filter of Shastra, rather than putting it through the filter of the three modes of nature, or specifically two modes of nature. And so any event that is happening to us, which is upsetting us or hurting us in some way, if we're smart, then we'll think, I have to go to Prabhupada's books. I have to see this through his eyes, because by seeing it through my eyes, it's not good. So I may have a way that I initially react negatively. And a lot of people are like that. They have very fast reactions to things. They don't think, they just... And then they think later, after they've destroyed everybody around them. And then as they think later, they realize, oh, that was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. So that's second best. It's better if you can revert to Shastra Chakshu before you destroy everyone around you within 10-mile radius. So, but my experience is reframing a story tends to reframe other stories in your life, because it's like if you reframe this story about resentment, it's connected with so much of your own psychology, and it's connected with so much of your conditioning. And by reframing it, it's starting to reframe so many things in your life. So, let's say you were able to forgive, and then you realize that when I was hurt, I thought this was the only way to process the hurt, was through revenge or resentment. I didn't think it had any other meaning. But now I understand that one event may have different meanings from what I think, or at least what I thought at that time. So there's a nice thought or a nice question to ask yourself when you're involved in a situation that's problematic and you're acting in a way which is having a negative effect on you. You ask this question. This is a counseling question. It's one of the best questions you can ask yourself. What else could this mean? You should write that down. What else could this mean? So right now, something is happening to me. It's very negative. And I'm reacting, and it seems negative. I'm reacting in a negative way. And I ask myself, what else could this mean? Could it mean something else? Could it mean that the person who said that meant something else? Could it mean that the person who said that didn't read the email I sent them yet? Could it mean they don't have the full story of what happened? What else could it mean? Could it mean I misunderstood something? Could it mean they're reacting to something I did and I'm not aware I did it? Right? So from my experience, they're so much connected to stories that if you learn a process like the forgiveness process, you go in deeply, you learn to change the story, you're learning to take responsibility for how you feel, you're realizing the whole concept of stories. You're facing emotional pain, learning how to do that. You're doing so many things to be able to overcome it that it can have tremendous effects. It can have, I'm not saying it will have on everybody, but in the perfect situation, it should have tremendous effects when you start changing your stories. So, and another example, let's say you went through a situation and then it was very difficult, but you changed your story. And you remember that all I had to do was change my story. That becomes now a paradigm by which you live because of that experience. Now, if someone, I would say, in answer to your question, I would say probably that's true if a person has a difficult time changing their story or a difficult time being self-reflective, actually understanding themselves and what they do. Or maybe they don't want to change their story. But in psychology, it is taught that however you see yourself, your self-conception is exactly how you'll act. So if you think you're not good at something, that's how you'll act. If you think you're good at something, that's how you act. Do you know, you want to hear an amazing story? There was a boxer who never lost, I don't think he ever lost a fight. And he was challenged by another boxer, by an Irish boxer. And so they sent out this rumor that this Irish boxer is doing hypnosis, and this hypnosis is going to make him invincible. He's like got this confidence that he can't lose in this focus and power. And so the other boxer, they interviewed him and said, I don't think this is fair because he can win. He'll probably going to win this fight because of what he's doing. And he's gone under hypnosis, and now you're going to fight like a lion or something, right? So that boxer who was defending, I think he never lost a fight, he was defending, he was really psyched out about this. And he had written the Boxing Association. Said this fight should not go on like this. That boxer lost the fight. It's probably the first fight he ever lost. And they said, at the end of the fight, they interviewed the boxer who won. I don't know his name. He's Irish. He is Irish. He's an Irish fighter. He's a bad boy, fighting very hard. And they interviewed him about this. You know, we heard that you were under hypnosis. He said it was all a story to psych this fighter out. We didn't do it at all. He came in with headphones on. He was listening, like he's getting programmed. It was all a show. It psyched out the other fighter, and the fighter lost his first fight. That's an interesting story, isn't it? So, whatever is going on in your head, it becomes your reality. So how you psychologists say, you can't act in a contrary way from how you see yourself. Like, you have people who are very successful. It's like they cannot be not successful. They don't know how. That world doesn't exist for them. They don't know how to do it. They don't see themselves as anything but successful. And so it's like impossible for them not to succeed and vice versa. Some people see themselves as failures. And even if they could succeed, it's impossible because you have to act according to your self-conception. So if I see myself as a devotee of Krishna, that's my self-conception. I can't act in Maya. It's impossible. And if I say I'm not really a devotee and it's too hard and I don't know if I can do this, that's how I have to act. It's another self-conception. So sometimes, like Krishna Karshan, he says, well, what's the relationship between psychology and spiritual life? And I think this is a fantastic example of the relationship. Because the mind works in a certain way, whether it works in the material sphere or you're applying it in the spiritual sphere. So if you don't see yourself as a devotee, if you don't see yourself with the potential to be Krishna conscious, if you don't see that you have the potential to become pure in this life, you won't act that way. But if you have that faith, you will act that way. You'll say, I'm going to do it in this life. You get up early every day, you chant, you struggle, you work to overcome whatever it is you have to overcome. You do it because you believe you can be successful. That's your identity. I am a devotee. By nature, I'm a pure devotee. I'm just covered. But I can uncover that by this process. But if your concept is, no, not in this life, I'm not really a devotee. I like Krishna, but then that's how you act. You just act out your self-identity. And so, just this identity, it's so empowering if you think, if you remind yourself, there's a devotee who wrote affirmations. Beautiful. I have it somewhere on my Facebook. He's like, I am spirit soul, I am pure, I'm eternal. these affirmations of who I am, reminding ourselves of our identity. So you are pure spirit soul. You are in your pure state a lover of Krishna. Love of Krishna is not foreign to you. It is who you are in essence. That's a different identity than, I don't know, this life, so hard, not really a devotee, Prabhu, you don't know all the bad things I did. You don't know what I think of. You have no idea what I dream about. Last night, Satyarupa dreamed about Radha Madhava and the gopis, and they were playing with a frisbee. I said, wow, frisbee in the spiritual world. What a dream. Can't wait to go and play frisbee with Radha and Krishna and the gopis. Sounds good. So this is very, very important point. And whenever I see devotees with this self-identity that is just, I can see they'll never get to the finish line because their self-identity is, I can't get to the finish line. And I look at that and I think, it has nothing to do with whether or not you can get to the finish line, and everything to do with whether or not you think if you can get to the finish line. Because if you think you can't, you have reprogrammed yourself not to try to get to the finish line, and you don't even realize that. You've reprogrammed yourself to not be Krishna conscious in this life because you've adopted that identity. I'm not really a good devotee, and it really works for you, because if you convince yourself you're not a good devotee, you don't have to try to be one, because after all, I'm not one. Why should I try? Everybody knows I'm not. So what's the point of trying? Just like, I'll do what I do. Be real. Get real, Prabhu. Just, live in the modes. Be real, That's the problem. So then you live in the modes because that's what you believe is your identity. And I know you might say, is it that simple? Well, maybe not entirely that simple, but predominantly, yes. Now, if you look at Prabhupada's books from this angle and you see what is he trying to do in terms of self-identity, how is he trying to recondition us? You'll see he's trying to make us realize that Mahaprabhu's mercy does everything. It's not about you. It's about getting the mercy. So if it's not about me, it doesn't even matter what I am or what I am not. What matters is that I as soul can do this. But if I identify with body and mind, I think my body and mind can't do it, then okay, I slacken. So that's dangerous. You probably all heard that story. Some eagle was raised by chicken. He thought he was a chicken. And he looked up the eagles and he said, I wish I could fly like the eagle. And then the chicken go, or whatever they say. You're a chicken, you can never fly like that. And so he couldn't fly like that until someone said, actually, you're not a chicken, you're an eagle. You can do that. And that's all he had to hear is, get the story straight. He had the wrong story, thought he was a chicken. So if you think you're a chicken bhakta rather than eagle bhakta, chickens stay on the ground. Well, there's some chickens fly a little bit. We have them around here. We have flying turkeys in Alachua. They're turkeys that, they fly in the trees. But chickens don't fly, I don't think. I've never seen. They hop. So if you're an eagle and you think you're a chicken, then you can't fly. Even though you can fly, you can't fly. So there may be so many things about us in which we can fly, but we don't fly because we don't think we can fly. So to me, Krishna Karshani, it's like this whole process is a reprogramming. If we actually reprogram it, then we'll be okay. If we're, like highly, highly conditioned, and like Prabhupada said, we're like a dog's tail. You try to straighten out a dog's tail. This is how you straighten a dog's tail, right? Boom. And he said our conditioning is like this. I'm going to straighten that tail out. Okay, let's grease it up. Put some wax on it. Yeah. So it's true. Conditioning can be like that. But it also depends on one's own desire and willpower. You see people in lowest status of life addicted to alcohol or other hard drugs, and they overcome it when they get motivated. Just pick themselves up. So it can be done. But every case is different. I'm generalizing here and basing on my experience that I see that if you start learning how to shift stories, then you start realizing if things aren't going well, I've got a bad story. My story is like, no, this is not going to work out, or I can't do this. Right? I don't know why, or maybe I do know why, but like when it comes to like handyman work, like, screw this in and build that and figure this out and take this out. After I became a devotee, I just was convinced I couldn't do it, which is somewhat true, but not entirely. And I see, like, there's things around the house that have to be fixed. And I roll up my sleeves and I go, okay, I'm going to do it. Because I've become super handyman now. I've overcome my limiting beliefs about what I can fix. And all of a sudden, it's like, oh, this was easy. I thought it was hard. But when I created the identity, super handyman, all of a sudden, everything's easy. Now, you might laugh at that and think, that's funny. But it's actually true. A lot of times, I see with myself and other people, someone's explaining to us like something, and we're like, that's so difficult. I don't understand. And it's like a 3-year-old could understand. We have this thing in our mind that's too hard to understand. You go to this website, here's the ad, and you go there and you click on home, and then the menu comes down, and you click on, that's too much. I can't. I need a 3-year-old Chinese girl to do that. I can't figure that out. So, I joke with my wife, because sometimes I'll explain something like that. And I think it's simple. She's like, no, it's complicated. Then I'll go in the laundry room and go, how do you run this washing machine? Well, you hit that button and turn this knob, put this in, close this, open this, put this. And I'm like, that's way more difficult than what I just showed you. She goes, no, it's simple. So it's like, if you're a woman, you run a washing machine. It's just what you do. If you're a guy, you look at a washing machine and go, slow cycle, fast cycle, high cycle. Unless you were the brahmachari clothes cleaner, where do I put the detergent in? It's just like, it's not a guy thing so much. So it's funny to watch it, Then you take a woman, okay, open up the hood, we're going to put some fluid in the radiator. Like that sounds really difficult. Where's the radiator? I don't think I can do that. And she's putting dish soap in the dishwasher, or she's putting soap in the washing machine. It's the same thing. There's a place to put it, and you put it. It's not any more difficult. But we get these ideas. That's a car. That's a guy's thing. I can't. I wouldn't be able to figure that out. Isn't that funny? So I did something the other day that for me it was hard, and I go, no, I'm just going to do it because it's not hard. It's easy. Now, once you do it, you realize, oh my God, that was so easy. I just thought it was hard because I didn't know how to do it. So that's, you can apply that to anything. And unfortunately, we apply it to Krishna consciousness. And then Krishna consciousness becomes hard. Oh, it's so hard to control my mind. And it's very important. Something I tell devotees. I say, Prabhuji, Mataji. If you repeatedly tell yourself that it's hard to control your mind, you know what's going to happen? You're going to convince yourself that it's hard to control your mind. And you know what's going to happen? You are not going to be able to control your mind. That's what's going to happen. Yes or yes? Oh, Prabhu, I can't control. It's impossible. I've tried. It's impossible. I just chant my rounds. They're bad. I don't even try to control my mind. It's just like. So now you have the identity. What's your name? My name is the guy who can't control his mind. So when I chant Hare Krishna, my identity starts lighting up. Yeah, remember, you're the guy who can't control your mind. So don't even try it when you chant your rounds. Don't even try to control your mind, because you are the guy who cannot control his mind. And don't forget that, all right? For your whole life, you have to remember you're the one who can't control his mind. That's what happens when you say, I can't control my mind, I can't control my tongue, I can't do this, I can't do that. You just develop that identity. Oh, who are you? Oh, I'm the guy who gets up late every morning. I'm the guy who stays up late at night and gets up late in the morning. I'm a night person. It's my new identity. Well, if you're a devotee, I would suggest a new identity for you. The morning person. No, but I'm a night person. Okay, forget it. You are now a morning person. Get my magic wand. I need a magic wand. I actually have one. It's Lord Jagannath's toothbrush. I have it upstairs. I should bring my magic wand. Bless you all. You are now morning people. You can now control your mind. And in hypnosis, that's all they're doing is reprogramming the subconscious to say, you rise in the morning. You control your mind when you chant. You can be a pure devotee. It's like reprogramming, and all of a sudden the identity's changing. And all of a sudden it's like, well, why is it so easy for me to do something I couldn't do before? You change your identity. I'm the morning person. So instead of chanting the mantra, I can never get up early, which just ensures that you will not get up early, guarantees you'll never get up early. Chant the mantra, I'm a morning person, I get up early. Why not, Instead of chanting the mantra, I can never control my mind. Say, I will control my mind when I chant. It's difficult, but I'll do it. Just like Krishna said, it's difficult, but you can do it. It being difficult and not doing it the correlation is, if it's difficult, you can't do it. No, the correlation is difficult, try harder. We say, it's difficult, so I can't do it. Krishna says, it's difficult, so attack it, because you work harder. That's the idea. So, it's nice to have the identity. It's nice to have the identity that no matter how hard it is, I'm going to work through it. I'm going to make it happen. Isn't that a good identity? Sun is shining through. Is that a nice identity to have? It's like I can work on this. We can make it happen. At least make it happen bigger than what I think I can. If that's going to support you, what you want to do. So, okay, we have another question. I don't know if that answers your question or you have a doubt. Getting out of victimhood involves self-forgiveness? Yes. How do you know if you have forgiven yourself? Because you give yourself a kiss every day. You stop blaming yourself, beating yourself up. It's like you look back at all the bad things you did and you just say, yeah, I was just human and I made mistakes and I can do better. That's how you know you're forgiving yourself. If you're not moving forward and improving, it's likely you haven't forgiven yourself. You're still blaming yourself. I mean, if you haven't forgiven yourself, you're blaming yourself. It's just, you got a pretty negative life. That's how you know. I'm so bad for having done this. Yeah, you are. But get over it and move on. Everybody makes mistakes. If you hold on to it, no, but I'm so bad, I can't let it go, I'm so bad. Yeah, then you're not forgiving yourself. I would say that self-forgiveness is an absolute necessity for everyone if they want to have a normal, stable, relatively successful and peaceful and happy life, just materially speaking, and as a platform for going forward in Krishna consciousness. Now, the problem is it's also a story, but the problem is the story wasn't self-created. And when stories are created by other people, they're really hard to get rid of. When stories are created by yourself, it's like you could think, I created that story because I saw this situation a certain way. When I think back about it, it was stupid to see it that way. And now I realize that I've been thinking this way for 10 years just because I saw it that way, and the way I saw it was wrong. It's easier to overcome that than somebody telling you this is how it is, or this is how you are. And somebody's telling you that over and over and over, and it's negative, that gets implanted very deep in your conditioning, and that's harder to overcome. But if you have difficulty forgiving yourself, try to think, is there somebody who impregnated that in me, that there's like something wrong with me? Was that impregnated by a sister, a brother, a priest, a teacher, a mother, father, uncle, aunt, or whoever, anybody, god brother, god sister, was that implanted within me some idea that there's something wrong with me? Or whatever you're thinking, whatever that negative thought is that's causing you to not be able to forgive yourself, did someone implant that idea in me? Because the unfortunate reality is that often it's not even you're thinking about yourself negatively, it's someone else's, and that now becomes your thinking that's been implanted in you, like a chip in your brain. So it helps to understand that, so you can think, okay, I'm having a difficult time forgiving myself. For what? What are you having a difficult time forgiving yourself for? And was there anyone in your life telling you you had that problem? Like over and over, so it became impressed in your consciousness to such a degree that you feel like, yeah, this is who I am, it's my identity, and how could I forgive myself for being so bad? So these things have to be dealt with. And, any kind of negative psychology is going to affect your Krishna consciousness to some degree. You'll do better if you can rewrite your stories, obviously, in a way that's going to support your bhakti. So you might say, yeah, but in bhakti there's so much self-deprecation, I'm bad, this and that. Yeah, but it's not coming from the wrong story, it's coming from the right story. It's coming from bhakti. So that's good. Sometimes you look at something externally and you can't judge if it's good or not unless you know where it's coming from. Like, why is the person doing this? Now you can see my beautiful plant, right? Add a little color here, a little variety. Somebody's doing arti, and he's a smarta Brahman. Why is he doing it? Just because he thinks doing arti will get him to heaven. So you can't just judge by what someone's doing. You have to understand why they're doing it. Right? So what's going on inside can have detrimental effects on us for our bhakti. Okay, so now Amrita Radhika has a comment or a question. Can you also please speak about how empathy can help with compassion? I needed to have empathy for my parents to come to the platform of compassion to be able to forgive them. Some people can struggle with empathy. Well, there are a lot of nice quotes, in fact. I just had them out because we're giving classes in the evenings on Tuesday. So let me see if I can read a few, because it's beautiful quotes. I don't have these categorized by topic. But it'll be worth waiting a few moments to find it. Whoops, I didn't find it. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare. Well, I'll read one. It's not exactly addressing it, indirectly, but it'll help. When you hold resentment toward another, you are bound to that person or condition by an emotional link that is stronger than steel. Forgiveness is the only way to dissolve that link and get free. So this would tell you, well, be empathetic for your own benefit. Love is an endless act of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the fragrance the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it. That's a definition by Mark Twain. I can't find this quote. Well, let me read this. This might be it. The remarkable thing is that we really love our neighbor as ourselves. We do unto others as we do unto ourselves. We hate others when we hate ourselves. Whoa, 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 whoa. Did you hear that? Let's rewind the tape. And we go back. The remarkable thing... Wow, we should have some music. Okay, this quote requires music. So, everyone... The remarkable thing is that we love our neighbor as ourselves. We do unto others as we do unto ourselves. In other words, he's saying, when you love yourself, you love others. And then he says, we hate others when we hate ourselves. We are tolerant towards others when we tolerate ourselves. We forgive others when we forgive ourselves. We are prone to sacrifice others when we are ready to sacrifice ourselves. Okay. I have a better song for you. I like this next one. This is a really great quote. I just lost the quote. I'll read some more quotes. We'll see if this helps you. Forgiveness is freeing up and putting to better use the energy once consumed by holding grudges, harboring resentments, and nursing unhealed wounds. It is rediscovering the strength we always had and relocating our limitless capacity to understand and accept other people and ourselves. Should I read that again? Forgiveness is freeing up and putting to better use the energy once consumed by holding grudges, harboring resentments, and nursing unhealed wounds. It is rediscovering the strengths we always had and relocating our limitless capacity to understand and accept other people and ourselves. Our unlimited capacity to understand people and ourselves. I thought I saw this other quote. Hold on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with the quote that I was looking for. You know how that works? Sometimes after class is over, you find the quote. The pages were stuck together. Anyway, the quote I was looking for. There's two quotes. So one quote was that I think it was Henry Wadsworth Longfellow said, he said, if you understood the history of all the suffering that people went through in their lives, all the difficulties and struggles, etc., it would disarm you. You couldn't hate anybody. It would be like shooting someone who's already on the ground, dying. So that's the essence of that quote. If he said, if we understood the hidden history of every human being, there would be so much tragedy in their lives that it would disarm any negativity we have towards that person. They already suffered. One of my godbrothers, Gaura Prabhu, said, people are already suffering. I don't have to, bring more. I shouldn't bring more suffering. They're already suffering. That's the Vaishnava attitude. And the idea is another quote that compassion is the antitoxin of the soul. So the basic instruction you generally get when you're trying to forgive difficult people who've done things which are difficult for you to forgive, is that you try to understand that they were doing the best they could, and the best did not meet your expectations. But that's the best they could do. So they tried their best wasn't good enough, and so we don't hold it against them. And also, we understand how there's this emotional strangling going on by me holding on to this, and how damaging it is. So, we're all selfish, and we all want justice, and that's why sometimes it's hard to forgive, because we don't think they deserve it. Now, we read this quote. I'll read it again. It's worth reading again. Forgiveness is freeing up and putting to better use the energy once consumed by holding grudges, harboring resentments, and nursing unhealed wounds. It is rediscovering the strengths we always had and relocating our limitless capacity to understand and accept other people and ourselves. There's another quote that forgiveness means that you have a right, because you were hurt, you have a right to retaliate, but you don't. Instead of retaliation, you show compassion, you show understanding, you show kindness. So the definition this one person gave is, forgiveness means to not do what you're justified to do, and to give them what they don't deserve. And I think that's Mahaprabhu's mood, right? Everybody, by their karma, by their sinful activities, doesn't deserve to get his mercy. But he personifies compassion, and so they don't get what they deserve, but they get gifted. So resentment is, it embodies this mood of Mahaprabhu, doesn't it? One time, this devotee had left, and they were trying to get him back, and then they found him with some yogi, and he had become a little offensive, or just, I don't know what the word is. He became difficult to deal with, and devotees had given up on him, and they told Prabhupada, we tried, but we gave up. And Prabhupada said, you don't understand that Lord Nityananda's mercy is unlimited. Or he said something, you don't understand how deep Lord Nityananda's mercy is. So I think we have to embody that somehow. I'm going to throw it back to you, Amrita Radhika, and ask you, how are you going to do that? What do you have to see to be able to do that? And I would ask myself, is there some need for justice surrounding this issue? As often I can't forgive because justice. It's a story. They did something wrong, it's unjust, I suffered. It would be wrong to forgive, or how can I forgive? But for us as a devotee, we don't need a reason to forgive. It's just what we do. You don't have, it's like, I'm searching for a reason. How can I forgive my parents? You don't need one. Devotion, forgiveness is part of bhakti. That's all you need to know. It's part of bhakti. So you don't need a reason to forgive. You don't need a reason to be empathetic. You just need to be, because this is what it means to be a devotee. That's how I've understood it, and that's how I teach it, and that's how I believe we should all see it. If there's a behavior, if there's a way we should behave, we should not be so stupid to try to justify not behaving that way because something happened that makes it difficult or impossible to do. That would defeat the whole thing. That would be like saying, I'm not chanting my rounds because this happened. And everyone would say, that doesn't make any sense. You all have to chant your rounds no matter what happens. So that makes sense. But when you apply it to a situation like forgiveness, it seems to make sense. No, they don't deserve to be forgiven. That may be true, but you didn't deserve to be forgiven either. And Prabhupada forgave you. Lord Chaitanya forgave you. So if you're going to go about deserving and needing good reasons, then you're in the wrong movement, because this is not the movement of punishment. It's not the movement of justice. It's the movement of mercy. So I think I would say, rather than get into it from a psychological perspective, I would get into it from a perspective of just looking at yourself. Am I showing mercy? Or how to show mercy? Or why am I not showing mercy? Like, what's going on in my heart? Why is it hard? That's where I would start. It will have a better effect on you. And if that didn't answer your question satisfactorily, you can ask, because we still have 15 minutes. I don't, we're not in the same room, so I don't know if I actually hit it on the head, or there's still something specific you're looking for. Yeah, from Krishna Karshani, is every negative story changeable? Yes. It seems that there are such negative stories, traumatic experiences, extremely difficult, possible to change. It may be impossible for some people, but they can be changed, because you have stories. Wow, this amazing story we read. Oh my God. This was like off the charts crazy. Let me see if I could find it. I think we read it one night in the forgiveness class. Let me see if I have. I don't know. You know that problem? You don't know where you put things? Anyway, this lady, a Christian lady, and she was in Auschwitz, or another concentration camp, and like 50,000 women were killed in front of her. And she said, we got so close, the women who lived, we were so close, we learned so much, we benefited so much, we grew together, we had special times together. She was going on about all the positive things. She said, we can thank these people for creating that situation for us. Like, we should not hate them, but we can see this as divine arrangement. So even in that situation, the story could be changed. And then that story of, what's his name, that escaped? He wrote that book. His name is, he escaped the Nazi camp by pretending he was dead, and then he was carted off in a truck with all these dead bodies because they thought he was dead, and that's how he got free. And he wrote a book. And the name of the book and the name of the person are escaping me. I'm brain dead. It's 6:20 and it's hot out. My brain is going, Jello time. It's time for Jello. It's all just settling. The name is on the tip of my tongue, but it won't come off the tip. Who knows? Who am I talking about? Frankl. Viktor Frankl. Yeah. What's the name of the book? I got the first half. Viktor Frankl. Oh, I could find out. You ever see that video? It's like 1960, and these two 5-year-old kids are playing, brother and sister. And they have a question. They go, let's ask mommy. And then they switch to like 2015 in the same scenario. And they have the question and they say, let's ask Google. So my mother's not here, so I'm asking Google. I think I got that wrong, Viktor Frankl. Who knows the name of the book? I'm getting the wrong Viktor Frankl. I don't know how to spell his name. Anyway, somebody know the name of the book? Yeah, so they change. You can't change the story. I hit the nail on the head. Take responsibility how we feel rather than being. Anyway, as devotees, like here, Mark was saying exactly, compassion, forgiveness are intrinsic qualities of the soul. If we love Krishna, we are close to him. We take on his qualities. Yeah. So that's how we think. These are qualities. That's the way I think. The thing that gets me through all these difficulties is it's not, if I look at it in terms of right, wrong, and justice, which a lot of devotees do, and I see that they're looking at things too much from a point of justice and not enough from the point of mercy. And also not enough from the point of view of what I should be. Okay, this is wrong. Okay, I can say this is wrong. I was abused or whatever. It was wrong, but I'm not justified in going into the mode of ignorance and raising hell as a response. That's also wrong. So if I'm going to respond that way, then I've been controlled by what they did. That's how we have to think. So if you can't be kind to your parents, then you're being controlled by their behavior. Right? So Tully says, in what you believe, and in what you believe, you believe. Yeah, exactly. I believe that. I could believe that. Frisbee Leela Kijai. Okay, yeah. The Mahamantra can straighten the tail, yeah. Although Prabhupada said, trying to purify us is like trying to clean coal, so some mercy is there. I was just reading a story this morning about some of the disciples of Ramanuja became kind of discouraged, thinking that, Bibhishana was being rejected by all the followers of Ram when he came to surrender to Ram and not being qualified. And they were saying, he's way more qualified than we are. So we're depressed. We're thinking, he wouldn't be accepted, and like I won't be accepted. And Ramanujacharya said, don't worry, I'll take you back to Godhead. So, that's our faith. We fly on the ship of that faith, that Prabhupada can do that. So that, we need to believe that. That needs to be our story. I'm on the ship. I'm on the Prabhupada spaceship, flying back to Godhead, even though I'm not qualified. It doesn't matter who you are, you chant 16 rounds, you go far. On the Prabhupada ship, back to Godhead. That's our faith. I was programmed, Krishna Karshani says, I was programmed that I would never fly out of fear, but I reprogrammed myself and changed the story. Oh, and I love to fly. Oh, I'll never fly. I mean, like a bird? No, in an airplane. I believe programming is, yeah. The thing is, if you realize you're programmed one way, why couldn't you be programmed another way? I was programmed to believe I couldn't. I thought I couldn't use a computer. Back in the 90s, early 90s, I was like, look at a computer, like, whoa. This is like a foreign entity. And we've all had that experience, like, I could never do this. And then you start to learn it a little bit and you realize, oh yeah, I could do that. And at that point you realize you can do it, then very quickly you learn, isn't it? I could never learn Polish. Tak. I can't even remember the Polish words. That's the reason I don't have a memory. I could never learn Polish. And Krishna Karshani said, yes, you can, it's easy. So if she convinces me, yes, I can, it's easy, then I learn it. As long as I'm convinced it's not easy and I can never learn it, guess what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not going to try. And even if I try, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to learn it. You know why? Because I believe I can't. And I have to confirm my belief by not learning it. Because if I learn it, it's going to turn my belief upside down. And so I have to maintain my belief, and the only way to maintain it is don't learn it. And the way to maintain it is look at it and say, I can't speak that language. It's impossible. Then I won't be able to. You want to hear a funny story? Oh, my Govinda, this is such a funny story. And it just fits perfectly in what we're talking about. And we could talk more about this, but I think you got the idea of how stories work. So, there's this man in Sweden. He is in Sweden. You know, I don't have the Swedish accent. He's in Sweden. And he's trying to learn the language. He's, I think, an American man in Sweden. And he can't learn it. And he's like, this language is too difficult to learn. I just can't learn it. One of those stories, right? And he's like, gave up on it. So one day, he's in the park. He's walking or running or whatever. And there's a man with a dog. And the man is saying, sit down, stand up, go get the ball, come back. And the dog's doing it. Of course, it's in Sweden, so the man's speaking to the dog in Swedish. And as you know, as you can imagine, dogs in Sweden speak Swedish. Dogs in China speak Chinese. Dogs in Russia speak Russian. Or we say they don't speak it, they understand it, but we'll say they speak it. That's how we normally do it. And he's looking at this dog and he's thinking, if the dog can understand Swedish, I can understand it. And then immediately he learned it. He got over that hurdle. Isn't that funny? And isn't that the way it is? It's just like sometimes you can't do something, you can't learn something, and something pushes you over the hurdle that, no, I can do this, I can learn this, and then you do. Isn't it? And then it becomes easy, and you look back and think, why was I thinking I couldn't do this? This is so easy. Isn't it? So we all have that experience, and I think it's really good to take those experiences and then apply them to the present situation. Say, yeah, in the past, I did this. I thought I couldn't, but I changed my mindset and I did it. So let me apply it now. A good habit I'm getting into, Michael says, is I think now is a good time to chant some rounds. Now is the perfect time to chant. Vrindavani says, always I hear we should remain humble, and so we pull ourselves down. That way pride does not come. If we think that we are good devotees, doesn't it lead to pride and cause downfall? Oh, we think we're good devotees because we're humble? You know, my realization is that humility is probably the most difficult thing. You know, we say giving up, following the principles, giving up sex life, that's difficult. No, it's giving up pride. That's the real problem. There's non-devotees who can control their senses also. At least sometimes they can. So some of them actually control better than some devotees. They're very determined. But giving up pride, yeah. So I've said this before, but it's so true, I have to say it again. You have to really want to be humble. I just read this beautiful story yesterday. I don't know who told the story, but it was a godbrother, and he was in Chaupati with Radhanath Swami, and he said, I want to go around with you and look at all the pictures on the wall. And I just want to hear, what do you think? I just want to see what's going on in your heart and your mind. What do you think when you look at the picture? So they went to this picture. Krishna, the coward boys, coward girls. And there was a picture of a coward boy or coward girl, I forget which, I think it was a gopi. Way, way in the back, with a sari over her head, and you couldn't see her. Just way out of the limelight. So this devotee said, Maharaj, what do you think when you see this picture? He said, I see that devotee way in the back. I said, yeah, I like that. Nobody is giving attention to that devotee. That's what I see. That's what I want. No attention. No, not. So that kind of humility, yeah, it's not easy to come by. It takes a lot of Krishna consciousness. But it shows that that's what Maharaj wants. He has that desire. That's attractive to him. So when you have a taste for humility, then it's going to happen. It's just the way it works. If we don't have a taste for humility, it doesn't happen. It's just, that's when I do my class on humility, I tell, right in the beginning, I say, if what comes out of this class is you to develop a desire to be humble, then I'm successful. Because from that, Krishna will guide you. Everything will come from that. So, just study, meditate, pray, study more, look at this issue, and pray for the desire to be humble. Pray that you don't have any need to be honored and recognized in the center, but all you want to do is be out of the center of attention and just be able to serve. Pray for that. That's what humility is. Super important in the way to talk to a child. Yeah, exactly. Can totally ruin a child. Instead of good, believe you are faithful, and good is on its way. What did Prabhupada say? Don't try to be great, just try to be good. That's also another quote. We have Gauramani from Hawaii. Welcome, Hawaii. We love you. How, Harish says, how to change the attitude to be perfect all the time. Change your samskaras. But it's also a similar answer to the one on humility. Like, first you have to define the attitude you want to develop. Then you have to understand why you're not developing it. What is the programming in there? Then how it's affecting you. It all starts with isolating. And I would say that one thing that helps me a lot is to put on a pedestal the qualities you want to develop, specifically as you see them in another devotee, either in the Shastra or a contemporary devotee. And you meditate on those qualities, and as you meditate on those qualities, you want to become like that person. Like, so many people have role models, isn't it? You want to be a great businessman, you have role models, great athlete, great musician. We all have role models. So, who's your role model for the qualities you want? And then the qualities you want to develop should be very, very prominent in your mind that this is who I want to be. Of course, the philosophical answer is be Krishna conscious and it'll all develop, but it's a little more complicated than that. So you're in trouble if you want to develop a quality but you really don't want to. It's not an urge. You don't, like if you say, I want to be humble, but if I'm not, it doesn't matter that much to me. Then you're not going to be able to develop it. But you say, I want to be humble, and it's really important to me because I know that's what Krishna will please my Guru, please Prabhupada. And this is what I really want to do. And it's the frequency is vibrating within you pretty strongly. It's going to happen. So it's the same answer. If I have a bad attitude, I have to come to a point. I once gave a lecture and I said there's a mantra called "That's It," and "That's It" is like what we say. Maybe you're not feeling well, and one day you say, "That's it. I'm changing my diet. I'm going to start exercising." So this mantra, "That's it," is the mantra of when you just hit a point and say, that's it, I'm going to change my attitude. I'm tired. Like they say, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of having an attitude that, as a result, is causing me so many problems. I want to change that. That's when it all happens, when you change that attitude. When you develop that. That's it. That's the mantra. That's it. I'm frustrated. I'm in anxiety thinking this way. How do you identify the beliefs in others in you? By first identifying the belief itself and then backtracking and just starting to think, where did I pick up that belief? Where am I? You might have picked it up in your another life, so then it's hard to track your last life. But if you picked it up in this life, generally beliefs of self-doubt, beliefs that cause you to beat yourself up and not forgive yourself, they've been programmed usually by the people closest to you or the people who had the most influence on you. Friend, teacher, priest, parent, relative, people who because if someone has a lot of influence on you, they say something, it really goes deep. So, who were the people closest to you and what were they saying? Question is from Paran Ananda, how to develop empathy for the police that harms innocent people just because they're exhausted by the actions of the government and want to illegally demonstrate their dissatisfaction. I don't know the situation in Poland right now, so. But every government officer in the police force is being told to do something that they may not even want to do. So they're just carrying out orders. So, being empathetic doesn't mean you have to agree with them. It just means understanding, feeling their stress. I think you had that experience. Krishna Karshani said the police were, you can imagine how stressful it must be to be a policeman now. In a letter, it's a feeling to put yourself in the person's place. It's like what you said. I need you to understand my parents did the best they could based on their capacity. So I empathized with them, and then forgave. And then forgave them because they did their best. You can't expect, yeah, exactly. He did his best, they did their best. What more could they do than their best? We have these high expectations of others, and then we can't forgive them. Yeah, what about expectations for yourself? Maybe we have higher expectations for them. Where the problem is, if you do something, someone else doesn't, then it's like, oh, okay. That's another problem. I expect everyone to, have the same integrity as I have, and if they don't, Viktor Frankl, and what was his book? Man's Search for Meaning, yeah. No, not Anne Frank, Viktor Frankl. He worked in Vienna. Okay, we can go now. Okay, let's chant for 5 minutes. Because I think we should chant. If you want to stay, if you can't stay, you can go. And I will still love you if you go now. But I think we should chant because chanting is always good. Isn't it? Maybe I could sing now better than before. Hare Krishna, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Tomorrow, there's a class at 9. There's a class at 10:30. And maybe another class. I'm not sure if there's another one. Maybe only 2. And so every Sunday at 10:30 my time I'll do kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., we'll have to advertise on Facebook. I'm not sure where. Then 10:30 on my channel, we'll do Kirtan, and we're having class on relationships at 9. I think that's it for tomorrow. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol.